Well, hi, it's Tom here at the end of day one of TED. An amazing, amazing kickoff to what is always a great event. Let me get right to it and give you a quick recap of my day. First of all, this year, for the second time, I was selected to participate in TED University. TED University is a pre-conference event where 50 different people get to present 9-minute presentations for small groups of people who sign up for classes. It's a relatively chaotic phenomenon, but it's a lot of fun. So this last year I did a presentation on video blogging on YouTube, and this year I did a more general presentation on what's going on, what the heck is going on in social media. It was a lot of fun, and I got some terrific feedback and really great reactions from people. And actually, I'll put here a link to someone who wrote a blog in an online San Francisco newspaper about my presentation. So that'll be over there. But the actual conference kicked off with Louise Leaky, who is a member of the famous archaeological Leaky family. She was terrific, talking about her experiences excavating for fossils in Kenya, growing up in East Africa. Really a terrific presentation. For details, remember, go over here. I'll point you to the blogs that are going to give you all the real content stuff besides my overview. Second up was Wade Davis, who's an anthropologist who's simply a terrific speaker. I'd seen him once before here at TED. His talks about culture are absolutely poetic and filled with ideas that are going to keep me looking for insights in them for a long time coming. I can't wait till this talk comes back online, is posted up online in the TED Talks, because he talks about how all cultures are basically answers to two questions: how and why. And that there is no such thing as cultural progress. There's no such thing as progress, period. All there are different ways of answering the questions how and why. And his most powerful line for me is that every culture is not simply a deficient version of us. You know, we always look at ourselves as the center of the world, and in fact, we are not. Followed up by Reeves, who's a terrific performance artist, comic, poet, excellent guy. You just have to see Reeves' work. There's probably video of Reeves up on the TED site. You should check him out. Chris Jordan came next. Chris Jordan's a very provocative photographer. He does work where he photographs large numbers of objects in order to portray the impact that those objects are having on the world. So, for example, he has a photograph of 1 million paper cups, which is 6 hours of plastic cup usage on airlines, on U.S. airlines, and the pattern, the artistic pattern in which he photographs these cups is it's beautiful, and yet it's also very powerful from an environmental impact standpoint. And that's what his work is really about. He has a piece of 400. He had a photograph of 400,000 cigarette packages, which, if you looked at them very closely, were individual cigarette packages. But when he showed you the picture, the overall picture was a reproduction of the Van Gogh painting of a skull smoking a cigarette. Quite something. And many others like that. Again, I think there's probably some, if you're interested in Chris Jordan, I'm sure you can find his work up online. The next piece was, the next presentation was really the most powerful of the day. Woman's name is Jill, I want to get her name correct here. Jill Taylor. She has another name, another middle name, but Jill Taylor. Jill Taylor is a neuroscientist from Harvard, studies the brain. Told a story of experiencing a stroke on December 10th, 1996. Now, the way she told this story about the experience of having a stroke was by, first of all, she had a real human brain on stage that she was holding with rubber gloves on. Pretty powerful image with the spinal cord actually hanging down from the brain. The way she told the story was to show that, in fact, the brain really is hemispheric, two halves, connected by the corpus callosum, the thing that connects the two sides of the brain. And unlike some of the kind of pop psychology sort of talk about left brain, right brain, she really went into detail about the function of the various hemispheres and what it was like for her to have a left hemispheric stroke and to lose functionality in her left hemisphere. All I can say is that when this talk was over, not only did 800 people spring to their feet to give her a standing ovation, about 700 of us had tears streaming down our cheeks because what she had done was to talk about how experiencing life with only the right hemisphere of her brain gave her a perspective on life that gave her the will to go on and to survive. I would encourage anybody who cares to go check out her work. It's really quite something. As we were walking out of that session, there are a lot of very interesting people here at TED. Excuse me, a lot of celebrities, a lot of famous people, a lot of interesting people. As we were walking out of that session, I found myself walking out next to Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons. And I'd seen him do this before, and I said to him, "Hey, Matt, would it be too much of a pain in the ass if I asked you to doodle something for me?" He said, "Well, we got to be careful. We don't start." He said, "As soon as I start doing that, there's going to be a line." And he said, "Let's find it." So anyway, we walked out, and as we walked out, he said, "Okay, let's go over here." And I got a little treasure. I got a drawing. I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can see that. A drawing of Homer Simpson. See that there? Yellow, Tom. Your TED pal, Matt Groening, and with today's date, February 27, 2008. So there's a really cool souvenir for me of TED. And that was just session 1. Session 2, we saw a preview of the new Microsoft Worldwide Telescope, which is an incredible experience in itself. Really going to change the way people think about astronomy and studying the stars. That was followed up by Pat Burkett, who is a physicist who talks about dark matter and dark energy, the stuff that makes up the 96% of the universe is stuff that we can't ever see and can only infer its existence. She's brilliant. Excuse me, there's my dinner. Okay, after Pat Burkett was John Hodgman. We all know John Hodgman as the PC guy in the Mac PC commercials from Apple, also known from the Jon Stewart Daily Show. And he did a nice little bit on extraterrestrial life, aliens, and so on. He was very entertaining. Followed up by Peter Ward, who Peter Ward, kind of was a bit of a down because he was here saying, our planet has not been habitable for much of its history. And it's only habitable now. The phrase he used that stuck out to me was that right now we're living kind of in the Oreo center of our planet's history, when all the conditions are just right for our kind of life here, and that on either side of this Oreo center, by billions of years, I'm not talking weeks, but it's not so good for us. But more interestingly was the number of times, and I think he put it at least 5, that there have been mass extinctions on this planet caused by collisions with very large objects, asteroids, Mars planet-sized things that have hit, all very scary. Thanks very much, Peter. Then Sri Ravi Shankar, who is not the musician or no relationship to the musician, a meditational leader who focuses on breath and the way in which we breathe and the implications of the way in which we breathe for our whole well-being. One of those talks that, was interesting and certainly I know is very relevant and powerful, but not, maybe not quite what all the other TED Talks have been over time. And then we finished up with Kaki King. Kaki King is a woman who Rolling Stone called a guitar god, and she's absolutely incredible. So that was, she's incredible. I can't say any more except she's incredible. She's a wonderful guitar player. After that was the last regularly scheduled session. Then there was a BBC World Debate. That was kind of an extra thing. BBC, there were two things that were extra today. One was an extraordinary appearance by Stephen Hawking on being interviewed by Chris Anderson, who's the curator of TED. And, Stephen Hawking sitting there in his chair answering questions about, what were the three questions? Let's see. Where did life come from? Are we alone? And what's the future for humanity? Extraordinary stuff. Basically, that the conditions for existence are, not rare, but not unique here, but rare. Are we alone? Probably not, but nowhere in the neighborhood, he thinks. And the future of humanity is that probably 100 years from now, here's another hopeful note, probably 100 years or so from now, we should be thinking about maybe finding space, somewhere in space to live instead of here. But the second extra event that we weren't expecting was an interview that was being recorded live here at TED for BBC. That'll be, I think, on BBC on Friday. An interview about the media. And on this panel that was being interviewed was Sergey Brin, co-founder of Google, Carl Bernstein of Woodward and Bernstein, Watergate, Washington Post fame, Andrew, I hope I'm saying this right, Mwende from Uganda, a journalist, Dan Gilbert, a psychologist from Harvard who has written extensively on happiness, and Queen Noor of Jordan. And this was a very lively panel about old media and new media. Carl Bernstein's a bit of a windbag, so he kind of took over things a lot. It was an interesting discussion, but it was late in the day, and I'd pretty much had enough by that time. So that's about it for tonight. And I did have an interesting conversation early this afternoon. This is the kind of thing that happens at TED. I'm standing there with Robin Williams, Larry Page, other co-founder of Google, Lawrence Bender, the producer of Al Gore's movie An Inconvenient Truth, and we're talking about Stephen Hawking. And I won't go into detail about Robin Williams's impressions of Stephen Hawking, but they were hilarious. Anyway, see you soon with tomorrow's reportage from here at the TED Conference in Monterey, California. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, and one more thing. There was one more thing. During that BBC thing I was telling you about, there was a technical glitch, and they had to kind of stop the taping. And during the period in which they stopped the taping, Robin Williams just started shouting out from the audience, kind of filling in for this not poor, I mean, he's a British BBC America news anchor, and he's very good, very professional, but Robin Williams started kind of helping him to fill time, and next thing you know, got invited down onto the stage, and the crowd went crazy, and he did about, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes, which I have on video, but it's not really very good, so I won't post it, but it was hilarious. And if you think Robin Williams is talented, watching him in a live improvisational situation will knock you out. I mean, the guy is he's just amazing. I wanted to finish with that, just so you know how incredible today it was. Take it easy, bye-bye.